So when I left there, you're still in what they call the pink glow, and that lasts for maybe 6 months even. So I was, you're somewhat tired, but euphoric at the same time. You feel really wonderful. Your whole view of the world has changed, but with the Ibogaine especially, it's very visual. At least it was for me. Some people, it's not. And everyone's experience is different. So anybody listening, please don't take my experience as this is what it is for everybody. But I did have, as you talked about, the visions or the symbolism that accompanies doing the medicine. And the Ibogaine lasted for me 12 hours. So during that, the whole thing kind of played on a loop. And there were things there, some of the symbolism, it took me 4 or 5 months to figure out exactly what it was. So one of the things I saw during my journey was I kept seeing this merry-go-round. And to me, that was saying, you've been doing the same things over and over, and it hasn't gotten you anywhere except to this spot right now. So now it's time to do something different. Let's get off the ride and let's make some big changes. So that was one thing. The other thing that really confounded me for months was during my Ibogaine journey, I kept seeing my son at various ages throughout his life. But every time he'd get really close to me, he'd be wearing a clown mask. And I just couldn't figure out for the longest time what that was supposed to indicate to me. You can ask the medicine what things mean, but I was just so engrossed in the experience that I didn't even think to ask. I just went with it. And I finally figured out, at least to me, what it meant was that I wasn't seeing him for the person he really is. So, guys like us who have been college athletes, we've been top performers in the military, been in combat, come out the other side. If you have a son, you often expect that kid to be your mini-me. And my son isn't. It's like I couldn't figure out, why doesn't he like the things I like? Why doesn't he do everything I do? And, it's good that he doesn't because he's his own person. But with that said to me, I wasn't seeing him for the person he really is. And once I could get past that, it just made my relationship with him that much better. If it's possible, I loved him even more for the person he really is instead of the person I was expecting him to be when he was born, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And did you feel, as somebody who saw a lot of combat, and as you kicked off with, like, saw some just egregious things that the average person probably can't even relate to, did your experience at all encompass that? And I say that slightly smiling because, as you said, there's people, you often go into a ceremony, even people with a lot of trauma, thinking that, like, oh, that's definitely going to be the focus of it. And for some people it is, but it's also always surprising to see how individuals can have this background that you would think, like, that's going to be the thing they go in there and dress. And then the actual experience maybe for a little bit they touch on it. But as you said, the medicine's going to give you what you need. And for a lot of people, that can be very different than what they think they're going to end up seeing in there. So just, personally, I'd love to hear, did that at all bubble up, kind of the things you had done while in the military, or was it a completely different, just a different experience outside of that?
Yeah. So, you hit on some good points there, Tony. And I would say that for me, there was no military stuff that came up. One of the guys on my retreat was, he had spent 8 or 9 years deployed, either as a soldier or as a contractor. And for 12 hours, he saw dead bodies. In mine, it was, kind of like a really beautiful setting. There was some harsh stuff, of course, like this big guy all dressed in black with a big black hat with a big wide brim, coming at me with an axe. And all I could take that to mean was that he's there to cut away the old so that the new can be born or can grow. And so really no military stuff, it's like I saw my father, saw my best friend, the German Shepherd I had lost the year before. He was there the whole time, kind of as my guide on this journey, which was really interesting. Um, and then there were some things there that just made no sense at all to me in any way, shape, or form. I still don't know why they were there. It was like these two blue cartoon dolphins that were just kind of swimming around a lot. And I'm still baffled as to what that means. But 3 times during my experience, I felt the bed that I was lying on, my mattress, levitated. I mean, it was as real as can be, as real as I'm standing here right now. I felt that thing levitate up toward the ceiling of the room we were in. It flew across the room, through the wall, and I can remember looking down and seeing the guy in the bed across from me. I'm thinking, we're going to crash on Patrick. and I mean, it's just like you said, everybody's experience is going to be completely different. One of the guys there was fighting a 600-foot tall giant his whole 12-hour experience. So it can be dark, it can be harsh, but again, the medicine is showing you what you need to see. And that was my experience. It wasn't horrible. I remember the guy who was ops lead came up to the room the next day. I was the last one to head downstairs, and he's like, "Yeah, I just came to check on you." And I said, "Yeah." He's like, how are you feeling?" I said, "I feel really good." I said, "But I think I screwed something up." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, my experience wasn't all dark and harsh, and it wasn't awful." And I said, "Parts of it were actually kind of goofy and beautiful." And he said, "That's perfect." So what that means, though, is that whatever your experience is, it's perfect for you.